You don't need magic to disappear for a while, because Firestone tires were built for ticking off mile markers. Firestone Destination LE3 tires. For 70,000 miles of exploring. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Sally Thomas is a second-generation tire dealer with ambition, grit, and heart for the tire industry. Her father, Paul, founded the business in 1981 out of the driveway of their family home. He and his wife, Sandra, soon blossomed the company into a full-blown tire and service location in Asheboro, North Carolina. Sally grew up working in the business but pursued a career in nursing before finally making her way back. In 2012, Sally, with her business savvy, and her brother Bryan, with his tire and service know-how, took over J.P. Thomas & Company, which has grown significantly into a multi-division corporation. They have since added several locations and have more than tripled their revenues over the past decade. Today, they operate 8 retail stores known as Thomas Tire Automotive, 2 commercial locations, 3 wholesale distribution warehouses known as East Coast Tires, a mighty auto parts franchise, an e-commerce business, and they also distribute for Hunter Engineering, Challenger Lifts, Atlas Copco, and CPS Products. Welcome to Johnny G and Friends. I'm Johnny G, and on today's podcast, we're joined by Sally Thomas, co-owner and president of J.P. Thomas & Company down in beautiful Asheboro, North Carolina. Sally, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate you having me on today.
So, Sally, your dad, Paul, and your mom, Sandra, started the business out of their garage or something at the house in 1981. What did that look like, and what are some of your early memories?
Well, we actually started out of our driveway because we were too poor to have a garage at the time. I'd like to say, I don't know if you remember the TV show. You were probably too busy back in the day to remember a show called Sanford and Son.
Oh, yeah.
Sanford and Son is what we look like. I'm sure our neighbors hated us. There was like not a stitch of grass in our yard, tires everywhere. My dad started in the commercial tire business. And while he was there was just tires everywhere. You know, I like to say a lot of girls, they grew up playing with Barbie dolls and baby dolls, but I grew up playing on tire jacks.
That's a great story. Sanford and Sons, man, that was one of the great shows. Yeah. So you went on to college to pursue a career in nursing. So what attracted you to that field? And then how did you make your way back into the family business?
Okay. Well, so in high school, I was known as Aunt Sally because I took care of all of my friends when they were too inebriated. And so I got this nickname as Aunt Sally, and I really did have a heart for people and for others. But I grew up in the business, working in the business, helping my parents from a very young age in the office, to the front counter. I would do anything that they needed, even if it was just to go get my dad coffee, but I would go on route trucks, deliver tires, deliver parts to our stores, whatever it took. I also worked up on the front counter in sales because he wanted me to be able to learn how to talk to somebody. And he said, if you can learn how to talk to people, you'll always have a job. So, but when it came time to go to college, I really thought about pursuing a career in nursing because I wasn't really sure where my role would be in our business. I couldn't really see myself long-term at the time. And so I went to nursing school. My dad said, you have the nurse's heart, but the business mind, and the business mind is always going to win out, but go ahead and go get your degree and see how it goes. So I did. I worked as a nurse for several years. And one day I was the Camp Broadstone nurse. It was a college called Appalachian State University up in Boone, North Carolina. So they own a college, and I was their camp nurse. And I got a call from my brother, who's now my business partner, Bryan. And he called me and he said, I need you to come back to the business. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, I can't deal with mom and dad anymore. You got to get back. And I kind of laughed about it, thought he was joking, whatever. But I knew it was during the middle of the day, and my brother's a really hard worker. And so I was like, something's going on. A couple hours later, my dad calls me and he's like, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Because now it's in the middle of the day for my dad. And he was like, I really need you to come back to the business. And I said, Dad, what is going on? He said, you come back to the business or I'm divorcing your mom. And my dad was a very religious man and did not believe in divorce and did not want to divorce his wife of 30 some years at the time. And he just told me that their relationship had grown to a point where my mom was handling all of our accounts receivable, and it was just causing a lot of stress because she just didn't know how to leave work at work. And so, which is hard for a lot of couples that work together, So he said, will you come back and take over accounts receivable? And I said, sure, I'll do that. So that's what eventually took me back into the business.
Oh, awesome. Well, your dad was very wise for foreseeing that you needed to be back with the business mind that you have. And obviously it's proven today. So working with your mom and dad over the years, what's something valuable that they taught you about the business?
Oh goodness. I mean, there's so many things, but I think for my dad, I learned to genuinely, truly, sincerely love our employees and our customers. My dad genuinely loved them. I know that a lot of people say, your employees are everything. He truly lived it. So I felt like I had an extension of all these brothers and sisters that, that worked for us. I had tons of brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles because they were like family to us. Dad was also very entrepreneurial. I think I get that from him. I think he was a risk taker. And I think my love for real estate comes from my father as well. But my mom, she taught me really so much about multitasking. They had 4 kids. So I'm one of 4. And my mom would get up and make a homemade breakfast every single morning. I never had cereal going to school, like never, not one time. She made homemade biscuits in the morning and the evening and some kind of meat to go in that biscuit. So, I was eating ham biscuits or sausage biscuits every morning. And at night, she had a home cooked meal. Her and dad were at every single ball game. She kept her house spotless. I learned what truly can be accomplished when you put your mind to it. My mom was a great role model of what a wife and a mother should be. And then together, I think they both taught me what it means to have integrity, to do what's right at all times, no matter the cost. And they were really great examples of that. And they also instilled in me and my siblings a crazy work ethic. So I think I definitely get my work ethic from both of my parents.
Well, taking care of the customer, taking care of the teammates that work for you. I mean, that's what it's all about. And that normally the great foundation for really good businesses. And from what I've seen, even though I haven't been physically to your locations, I'm thinking the last time we had dinner was about 5 years ago. You were out here in Arizona. We broke some bread with that Craig Tate guy from Bartlesville. And so Sally, you told me your corporate headquarters today was a former Goodyear wire facility that was in operation for 30 some plus years. And wow, I saw pictures that I don't know. It's the Taj Mahal of Taj Mahal. I've been in this business 55 years. I've never seen a corporate headquarters like that. How did that all come about?
Well, in 2012, we had purchased a building. It was 125,000 square feet. And we quickly realized within a year or two that we had outgrown that facility. Our wholesale division was really just growing by leaps and bounds. And we were trying to figure out what the best plan was, whether we were going to add on to that building or look for another property. It was really important for my brother and I to stay in Randolph County, in the community that had been so good to us for, 30 plus years. We really wanted to be here, but there was no warehousing available. There was no buildings available. And my brother comes, he calls me on the phone. And he's like, hey, run down to the truck, hop in the truck with me. So I hop in the truck with him and he drives me out to Pineview Street, which is in Asheboro. And it's the old Goodyear wire facility. And I'm very familiar with this plant. Anybody that grew up in this part of the country knows it. It was a really, people really enjoyed working for Goodyear here. They were proud of it. They had a lot of pride when they said they worked for the Goodyear wire facility. It's a 129-acre campus, a 300,000 square foot building. It has 2 ponds, a walking trail, It's a beautiful piece of property, and Goodyear took care of it while they owned it, while they were in the building, utilizing it. They started construction on it in the late 70s. So when he brought me over here, it had been empty for about 4 years. And there was water everywhere because the roof it was past its prime. In one part of the building, they had used a lot of acid. So the acid had eaten up the metal of the building. All the equipment for the wire facility, because they made the cord that went into the radial tires for trucks and for heavy machinery. That's right. What was made here. All the equipment was in the concrete. So there was tunnels underneath the concrete where they would go under and they would do maintenance on the equipment. But what that left was all these huge holes in, half of the building. And then he brought me up into the admin office part where it was definitely 1970s, very skinny windows, wood paneling everywhere, small offices, low ceilings, no natural light hardly. And at that time, we had rehabbed that facility that we were currently in, and it was gorgeous. It was exposed brick, 100-year-old building, heart of pine floors. I mean, it was stunning. So he's walking me through. He's like, this gives us the square footage we need. It was more than we needed at the time. And he's like, oh, I think we can go in here and it's going to be we don't have to really do anything. We just need to paint or whatever. And I absolutely knew that the property was going to be our property, as far as I could see that this was going to be a great opportunity for us, but there was no way I was going to keep it the way it was. I figured I had one shot to do it right, and I was going to go into it with everything I could. So we rehabbed the entire property, and we made it into something we're really proud of. We think our employees really like coming to work here. When we have new recruits coming in, visitors to our office, they're blown away. And so we're pretty proud of it.
You did say 129 acres. Was that right?
129 acres. We have 2 ponds. My window right here to my left is just a big pond, and I'll catch people. Our employees will be out there fishing, or they'll bring their paddleboard. They'll go out there. They'll put a canoe in. It's a great little piece of property.
Wow. Well, congratulations, guys. The photos I saw are just phenomenal. So, Sally, since taking over the business with your brother, Bryan, your sales revenues have more than tripled in the past decade. So describe how you and your brother have worked together to make what JP Thomas and Company is today.
Well, I think first off, we had just a great foundation. Both Bryan and I grew up in the business. Bryan started busting tires from a very, very young age. Dad put a lot of responsibility on him at a young age with opening a new location. He was the only employee there when we first started in Aberdeen, North Carolina. My brother would drive an hour there in the morning. He'd first have to go load up tires, drive an hour, get there. We used to open at 7:30 in the morning. So he'd leave his house at 5:30, and he wouldn't get home till 8 o'clock at night. He did everything from cleaning to installing the tires, anything that had to be done. And I think that work ethic in him, it kind of trickled over the years as that business grew, that facility grew. All of the employees that worked directly underneath him knew that he was a worker. And so he expected that out of them. And that location today is still our number one highest volume store in our company. But so he had that aspect of the business. And I was like a little sponge around my dad. I really loved business. I love numbers. I love math. I'm very visionary. I'm a dreamer, a planner, but I can also execute, which is interesting. But I really have that. So I think both of us together, we had a lot of energy 10 years ago. I wouldn't say that we have as much now as we did 10 years ago, but we had a great foundation, a great energy. We had a great staff that believed in us, and then we just started growing from there. We've been able to add on 4 retail locations. We've opened another commercial site. We've put on 2 more wholesale distribution locations. We've added a territory onto our Mighty Auto Parts franchise. We've grown all aspects of our business, and really we couldn't have done it without great people.
Wow. It's a tough thing to work with siblings and our spouses. And obviously you and your brother Bryan have worked it out where you both know your strengths and weaknesses and complement each other very nicely. I'm very it's a unique thing, really. It is.
It really is, but we really do have a lot of respect for each other. We try to stay in each other, and we know our lanes, and we come together when we need to. But I think the number one thing between us, besides love, is trust. We trust each other explicitly, and so it's worked for our benefit.
Great, great. So you just talked about your Mighty Auto Parts franchise. I think in 2023, last year, you were recognized for one of the top 5 Zs in revenue. How have you guys grown that business, and what's your new territory here?
Well, I mean, I can just tell you, when I took over the company in 2012, Mighty Auto Parts for us was like a red-headed stepchild. It was just, my dad really, when he signed up, he understood that there was a lot of wins that could happen with being vertically integrated, but he signed us up and he put somebody in there, but really then became hands off. And so it never did what it really was supposed to do, what Mighty Auto Parts is supposed to be like. So when I took over, we had been losing money every year that we had ever owned it. And I just said, we're not in business to lose money, so we've got to figure this out. And so I dug in. I really got to understand what the Mighty promise is, what they call the Mighty promise. And I got to know that business, and I would just inject myself. I wanted to know the top franchises. So I would go and I would introduce myself at a meeting. I'd be like, hey, I'm Sally Thomas. I need to get to know you. How do you do what you do? We were number 65th on the list when I took over in 2012. So out of like 100 and some, and we've put goals on ourselves. We also had to get buy-in from all of our locations, because there was just a lot of friction there. When you're told, hey, we're gonna buy from us, right, and stock our shelves. I just don't think we did a really great job of it, and I'm really proud of how far we've come. It was not easy, but now they really see Mighty as an extension of their operation, and they are definitely teammates. So our retail and commercial and even wholesale centers really depend on Mighty and see them as a partner, which is the way it's supposed to be. But that's how we've kind of grown. I do have an exceptional sales manager. He's been the #1 salesperson in Mighty for several years, so I'm very fortunate with that. And we've had a lot of great relationships. He has a lot of great relationships, and he's just continued to build over the years to get us where we are today.
So to come from 64 into the top 5, that's a major accomplishment. Obviously, there's, as you were talking about, competitive advantages resulting from you getting your stores and other businesses in the area to buy from Mighty Auto Parts, right?
Yes, certainly.
So I'm going to ask you an interesting question now. What do you feel today? This is for all the tire dealers that are listening to this podcast. And in season 4, we built up a nice base. What do you feel is the biggest challenge facing tire dealers today?
Well, I think it just depends on if you're looking at it from a manufacturer position or if you're looking from more a retail position. I'll just take the position from a retail side. I think it's staffing. Unfortunately, I hate to even say that, but it is, at least in our market, it seems that, kids are really taught at a very young age, like go to college, go to college, go to college. And not every kid is meant to go to college.
Right.
So I think it's kind of they've been programmed to think that they're not going to become anything unless they go to college, get a 4-year degree. And I just totally don't believe in that. I believe that we need these blue collar jobs are awesome professions. I tell you, if I had a son, I would tell him go be an electrician because I know what I pay my electrician. And so, but we've got to, get into the schools at a very young age. And it's not just educating the students, it's really educating the parents. It's educating the parents that, these positions, these men and women that go into our industry, let's just say it's a technician. I always tell my technicians, listen, you're a doctor. You literally have a doctorate degree. Whether you went to school or not, you're a doctor because you can diagnose and fix what is going wrong with this vehicle, which nowadays is a computer. So I'm like, you need to hold your, that's why we don't discount what you do, hold yourself in that esteem. And I love this story. One of my first hires when I took over, I called a local high school and I said, I need your top 2 students who do not want to go to college, that are in the CTE program, that are good workers and that you know that they would be a good fit. They just don't want to go to college, but they're really smart and they're good with their hands. They sent me 2 young men. I hired one of them. Within 4 years, he was making over 6 digits.
Wow.
Our number 1 technician in our company. He's incredible. He's absolutely a genius. And he got his education in our stores. You know, he got it in our bays. And he's a father of 4, has a stay-at-home wife, is able to afford that because he makes a very good living doing what he loves without any college debt or anything like that. So I think for the retail portion, it's just getting students to understand that there's a lot of opportunity in our industry.
I would probably take that individual, that gentleman you just talked about, and have him go visit the various schools and say,
Exactly.
hey, this was me. I was you X amount of years ago, and look at me today, and I'm making 6 figures. And I get excited every morning I wake up and I go to work, because, Kimberly and myself, we notice here in Scottsdale, we go to restaurants, and I got to tell you, even not the really top shelf restaurants, the 5 stars, but even the 4 stars and stuff, they're having staffing problems tremendously. And when you walk into a restaurant and they tell you it's 20-minute wait, and you see a third of the tables are empty, that just bothers you. It's just like, it doesn't make you feel good,
Right.
So the fact that staffing, in our business today, I think soon as COVID hit, it's changed the whole world forever,
It has. It has. Making sure that you have programs. We've partnered with a lot of community colleges, and we have a lot of internship programs that I'm really proud of, because we literally, the first group of interns that we brought in, I think we brought in 6 interns. We still have 4 interns. Well, they're now full-time employees working for us. And this has been 4 years ago. So making sure that steady supply of, young men and women who are interested in our industry, that we don't lose them to the dealerships. I mean, that's a big thing, because it used to be that the dealerships, they really got first pick. And I think that there's so much more that we can offer. First of all, we're a growing company. Dealerships typically, they may have 1 or 2 dealerships. They don't have multiple locations. We've got a career path, and we can help them continue to climb. And they can do that by, if they've gotten to a certain level at their store and they can't get any further, well, we may have positions available at another location, or we may be able to put them into a new store that's coming up.
Well, if I'm listening to this podcast and I go to one of the high schools in the nearby area, and I really don't want to go to college and have a bunch of debt, I'm looking Sally Thomas and Thomas Tire.
Tell them, Thomas Tire Automotive.
You got it. So, Sally, now I've done something different this year. It's called rapid fire. I'm just going to shoot a bunch of stuff at you, and first thing that pops off your mind, you just tell me, okay?
Fire away.
All right. Stick shift or automatic when you're driving a car?
Automatic.
At Thomas Tire, would you rather work in the garage or at the sales counter?
Garage.
I love it. Favorite sports team?
Oh gosh, the Duke Blue Devils.
All right. So longest distance you ever run?
26.1 miles.
Woohoo, marathoner. I love
That's
it.
right.
I love it. So when you go on vacation, where do you like to go?
Well, I'm a beach girl, so put me by the sand and the sea. I'm great.
Awesome. Are you a morning bird or a night owl?
Morning, get up before the crack of dawn. Got to get the workout in early, or it's not going to happen.
All righty. What song do you have stuck in your head right now?
Oh my goodness, it's a crazy one. It's by Tom Jones. It's not unusual. Do you know that one? Sing it for me.
No. Can you give me a few bars?
Oh, you don't want to hear that.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
It's not unusual to be loved by whatever.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. All right, Sally, my favorite motto is people buy from people. Do you have one?
I actually do. I can either be the fountain or the drain. So I can either bring people up, lift them up, give them energy, or I can deplete them and bring them down. So I constantly always am asking myself, am I being this person's fountain or a drain?
Wow, that's a great answer. I've never had that quite analogy given to me. Super, super. So, Sally, I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's been over 5 years since we've seen each other. I'm going to be back in Nashville in a few months. I'm going to figure out how to get down to North Carolina, give you a holler. I want to see that Taj Mahal place. I want to touch and feel all the Thomas Tires locations. And then we can go out and I'll buy you dinner. How's that?
I'd love to have you. Come, join us anytime.
Great. Thank you so much again for being on Johnny G and Friends.
Thanks for having me.
You don't need magic to disappear for a while, because Firestone tires were built for ticking off mile markers. Firestone Destination LE3 tires. For 70,000 miles of exploring. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.